Hey everyone, welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here with a quick disclaimer before we jump into today's video. I got my wisdom teeth taken out on Thursday, and you know how some people get their wisdom teeth taken out and they're like, dude, I was fine the very next night or even the next or the same day. I am not one of those people, so I apologize for the low energy and really just the inability to open my mouth all that much. I still look like Bugs Bunny. But we're going to mumble and rumble and stumble our way through today's video. And I want to start things off with honoring Jim Brown, who, of course, passed away earlier this weekend. I've not filmed a video since Jim Brown passed away, but I just wanted to take this time to say rest in peace to number 32, Jim Brown. We're going to end today's video with recapping some of his greatest stats and moments and getting to know Jim Brown better as a person on and off the field. So with that being said, this is what we have on tap for everyone today. We're going to discuss another Browns running back, Nick Chubb, possibly getting a contract extension. We're going to look at an article that suggests so. See, there's the mouth. And then we're going to wrap up the video by remembering Browns legend Jim Brown. But let's start by talking about the current Browns running back, Nick Chubb. So the Orange and Brown Report's Jack Duffin, who I think is a great Twitter follow, he's really knowledgeable when it comes to the cap and whatnot, suggested a possible Nick Chubb contract extension. Now, Chubb has 2 years left on his contract. He turns 28 years old this December. So it's a bit bold, I think, to really start thinking 2 more years down the line, 3-4 years from now, about giving Nick Chubb an extension when he is definitely approaching the end of his career, as running backs tend to do when they get towards 30. Now, this is a part of Duffin's write-up in which he said, if Andrew Berry wants to keep Chubb around long-term, then the ideal time to do this would be this season. They can fully guarantee the final 2 years of his contract and then add some team options years on the back end of the deal, and this would be a win for both sides. Now, let's look at the finances a little bit behind Nick Chubb's contract. His cap hit this year is $14.8 million. They're not cutting him or anything crazy like that. 2024 cap hit, this is where things get a little bit interesting. It's $16.2 million. Now, the dead cap hit is just $4 million. So if Nick Chubb were to have a down season, you better believe next January and February there will be a lot of buzz, kind of like there is around a certain Vikings running back right now of, do the Browns want to move on from Nick Chubb? Career low season, $12 million in cap savings. We're going to look at that in a little bit. But what does $16 million kind of do in the grand scheme of things? Here are the highest paid running backs per year average contract. Now, Nick Chubb, on average, after he's signing that 3-year extension last offseason or 2 offseasons ago or 2 preseasons ago, whatever, he's making $12.2 million. That's number 5 in the NFL. So talk about Andrew Berry having, look at the guys above him. I mean, 12.5. The only better contract or value is Derrick Henry at 12.5. I would think Derrick Henry would be number 1. Christian McCaffrey, I think, is still a really good player, but Cook at 3, that's disgusting. Kamara at 2, we'll find out what his suspension looks like. Joe Mixon at 6, gross. Aaron Jones at 7. Tony Pollard, Barkley, and Jacobs are all on the franchise tag. Now, this is what Duffin proposed for a possible extension. I could see an extension that is $12.75 million a year for 2 years and has $20 million, I'm not going to say all those numbers, guaranteed, which means all of his 2023 and 2024 season is fully guaranteed. Now, before I give you my take on a possible Nick Chubb extension, I want to hear from everyone watching right now. Would you extend Nick Chubb, right? Would you give him a 2-year contract extension and guarantee the rest of the money? Because you can guarantee the rest of the money this year, 2023, doesn't really matter. Like, he's going to be on the roster no matter what. But guaranteeing all of his money for 2024, that's a bit dicey. Because if Nick Chubb has a down season this upcoming fall, well, you've already locked yourself into all of 2024, essentially. Now, the big question here is Nick Chubb approaching a Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott type of fall off in 2023? Because if you think he might be getting closer to that, it's probably too risky to guarantee all of his money in 2024. I don't think he is, okay? Look at Dalvin Cook's stats over the last 4 seasons. The last 2 years, Dalvin Cook has averaged under 5 yards a carry. Nick Chubb, ladies and gentlemen, has never once in his career, even his rookie season, averaged less than 5 yards a pop. And the same can be true for Zeke. Like, this is not a shocker that Zeke had a bit of a fallout last year. He was averaging just 4.2 yards a tote the season prior. So Nick Chubb, I don't think is fair to lump in with these guys, right? I understand he's getting up in the age column, but no one should be shocked that Zeke or Dalvin Cook had a down 2022 season. If you look what they did in 2021, it's not surprising. Now, Dalvin Cook is an interesting comparison because he has been the center of a lot of rumors this offseason about the Vikings wanting to trade him, mostly because they don't like his contract. And if you compare Nick Chubb and Dalvin Cook's career stats, they're actually pretty similar. Now, Dalvin Cook was drafted in 2017, so a full year prior to Nick Chubb, but Chubb has played more games, actually, which just kind of goes to prove, like, giving Nick Chubb another contract extension might be not the worst idea in the world because you know you're getting one thing for sure, availability, which you didn't really have in Dalvin Cook. Now, the Browns not drafting a running back might signal that Andrew Berry is confident that Nick Chubb will finish out his contract, right? That they are now already looking to replace Chubb in 2024, despite there being a good chunk of cap savings to be had if they were to move on from Chubb next year. And they are, once again, back in the red for the cap. Now, the cap's always a myth. You can move money around. But the easiest way to really do that is to cut players that have low dead money so you're not paying a bunch of guys to not play for you. But I think Andrew Berry is confident that Chubb will finish out his contract. Otherwise, he might have looked to draft a running back with one of his 8 picks in this past draft. Now, here is an interesting stat I thought you guys should see. I dug into all the rushing leaders from last year, and I looked at all the leaders who are 28 or older, right? Meaning, hey, do old running backs still have some good years or seasons left in the tank? Derrick Henry, 1,500 yards. He was second in the NFL. Latavius Murray's next up. He was 32, 33 for Denver, and he was acquired mid-season off the Saints practice squad. He actually played 2 games in London. How unfortunate. CP84 for the Falcons right behind him. Melvin Gordon, that's a prime example of just holding on 1 year too long. He was getting up in the age column. He was 30, and he had a bunch of fumbles and got outright released mid-season. I think Chubb is a lot closer to having a Derrick Henry-esque career path than a Melvin Gordon one. Meaning, I think Nick Chubb could be one of those, he's the exception. I know you don't like to have old running backs. You don't want to pay running backs. But I'm sure the Titans are still happy with paying Derrick Henry as he finished second in rushing last year, despite being on the or closer to 30 than closer to 20. So I think Chubb is probably closer to Derrick Henry in that, right? Then, hey, he's going to have an absolute fall-off season and he's going to fumble a bunch or, he's going to lose a step, all those cliches, and we're going to look like fools for extending Nick Chubb. At the end, though, I still think you should probably hold off on giving him an extension this offseason or into the preseason. He's going to be 29 years old when his contract is up. Why not wait then? Right? The big argument to get it done now rather than do it later after the season is, or after his contract is up, is maybe if he balls out the next 2 years, his price is going to go up and you're going to be paying more. I don't really know how much of a big market there will be for a 29-year-old running back, even if he does have 2 really good seasons prior. But there's also an argument of, well, it might make contract negotiations a bit tough, and it could, impact relationships if you let him finish out his contract and he's disgruntled. You've already given him a second contract. He's a top 5 highest paid running back in the NFL. I don't think Nick Chubb should be all that upset if the Browns are saying, listen, you're going to be 29 when your contract's up. I think you can understand why we might not be running to the table to ink you to a new deal. So for that reason, I'm going to wait and see how the rest of his 2 years on his contract play out. If he's great in 2023, he's awesome in 2024, you can just re-sign him to a 1-year deal for 2025. But that's really far down the road. Let's see how the next 2 seasons play out before we throw more money at Nick Chubb when we've already got a lot of, bellies to feed. And Deshaun Watson's contract, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, David Njoku. I don't know if you should be adding more to the table. All right, before we get on to the rest of today's video, if you have not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so. We have picked up 1,005 subscribers in the last 28 days. If you are a YouTube creator or whatever, you know that YouTube likes to operate under the last 28 days. So 1,000 subs basically in the last month. That is awesome. If I didn't get my wisdom teeth taken out on Thursday and I could actually smile, I'd be a lot more happy right now. But hey, we're still trying to reach our next milestone, 557 subs away from 20,000 subs. So go ahead and subscribe if you have not already. Now, to wrap up today's video, I want to spend some time remembering and honoring Jim Brown, a Browns legend, better than how ESPN did it. I'm not going to give him any more airtime, but if you saw their write-up, disgraceful and distasteful. But with that being said, I did want to kind of just run through some interesting, some interesting Jim Brown stats, including Nick Chubb, because when you look at the Browns' all-time rushing leaders, you might be a little bit surprised to see, oh, Nick Chubb's only 4 on the list. Like, there's some really good running backs in this franchise's history. What I think is even more, very interesting is that Jim Brown is going to finish as the Browns' all-time rushing leader, and I don't know if anyone will ever even come close to that, right? Like, Nick Chubb would have to play another 5 seasons for the Browns and average like 70 yards a game if he wanted to finish as number 1. And Nick Chubb has been an amazing player for this team who has been very available. Now, here are some more interesting Jim Brown stats I thought you guys should see. Maybe my 5 favorites, if you will. 5 favorites, if you will. He's the only player to average 100-plus rushing yards per game. He never missed a game in his entire career. Think about that. 9 seasons, never missed a game. He also led the NFL in rushing yards in his final season. So a lot of guys go out on top. This is truly the definition of going out on top. He was the best running back in his final season, and he was yards ahead of the second highest rushing leader that year, Gale Sayers from Chicago. He also averaged 5.2 yards per carry. For reference, Emmitt Smith averaged 4.2, and he's the NFL's all-time rushing leader. So, yes, Emmitt Smith is a great running back, and he played a lot longer than Jim Brown. But it makes you wonder, if Jim Brown played more than just 9 seasons, where would he finish in terms of the all-time rushing leaders? He was selected to 9 straight Pro Bowls, along with these other accolades, like 3-time MVP as a running back. I know it was way different of a game back then, but still incredibly impressive. 8-time All-Pro, Hall of Fame, of course, NFL champ, pre-Super Bowl era. He was also like in every single sports Hall of Fame. He's in the lacrosse Hall of Fame for shits and giggles. He picked that up at Syracuse because he could. So there's more than just, what he did on the field, though. Jim Brown off the field was an incredible person for the community in the civil rights movement. He was an active contributor, and as an athlete, he had a bigger stage and a bigger podium and microphone. He also organized the Cleveland Summit in support of Muhammad Ali during the draft process for the Vietnam War. It included multiple notable athletes like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was there to support Muhammad Ali. Jim Brown is more than just a running back on the field. He did so much off the field for the community and for civil rights that can be seen in so many measures today. So for that, Jim Brown, the entire Dog Pound, of course, thanks you for everything you did. And I think maybe one of my coolest Jim Brown things, if you will, is it doesn't really matter what generation you are. There are Jim Brown fans all over Cleveland. You don't really get that very often with athletes these days, right? People like the guys that they watch playing. Jim Brown has fans, or, people's favorite Cleveland Browns players, Jim Brown, from all sorts of ages and generations. So Jim Brown, a Cleveland Browns legend, rest in peace. Before we get on out of here, I've got a new ending, a new game, if you will. And again, if I didn't get my wisdom teeth taken out, I'd be a lot more excited about this. But I've been looking forward to this for a while. So I'm a big fan of Part of My Take, the Barstool podcast. And they end every single episode with a lottery ball machine, picks number 1 through 100. And, you're going to come on in a moment too, Rolly. So what I want to do here to end the show, and I'm going to do this for the rest of the off season, as long as I remember, is I've got a deck of cards right here. And I'm just going to pick one card out of the deck of cards, and I invite you guys to play along and just guess or pick which card you think I'm going to select. So I didn't do a great job of dressing that up, but essentially, what card do you think I'm going to pick? You can type it in the comment section. I'll probably know you're cheating if you get it right the first time, but I'm going to invite producer Rolly on in just a moment, and we're all going to pick a card, and then we're going to sign off. And I think this could be a fun way to end each episode of, hey, did I get the 1 out of 52 chance correctly? So, Rolly, come on down. Do you want to pick a card first?
Yeah, I'm going Jack of Spades.
Jack of Spades.
Yes.
I like it.
I think I'm going to get a winner first time. I'm feeling the good mojo.
I'm shuffling. I got really cool cards, too, by the way. They are like samurai cards. I'm going to go, there's no 32, so I'm going to go with like 3 of clubs.
Okay, I like that.
I'm shuffling. I have no interest in cheating in this, by the way. That would be the lowest of lows.
I think I was subconsciously going towards the Jack because of Jim Brown, Jack of all trades.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, I'm just going to pick the top card off. Ready? So you're going Jack Spades?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to go with 3 of clubs, I think I said. 3 of clubs.
Yeah.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. 3 of diamonds.
Oh.
You got to be kidding me. I hope you guys can see this well. It's the
Oh,
3 of
man.
diamonds.
I thought I saw your face. I thought one of us got
Talk
it.
about an all-time close one to start the show off. Okay, start this segment off. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. I think it's a fun way to end each episode, keep you guys engaged all the way through. So we're going to sign off, and I'll see everyone later. Hopefully I don't look like Bugs Bunny tomorrow, but we'll wait and see how the painkillers work.